All right, hello again. Welcome to Mr. Pisto Plays Magic the Gathering Arena Brawl. This time we are playing with Rankle, Master of Pranks. I don't know if people are gonna find these pranks very funny, but he's a very control-y creature. It's a 4-mana 3/3 flying haste, and when it deals damage or combat damage to a player you choose, any number of each player discards a card, each player loses 1 life and draws a card, each player sacrifices a creature. So the concept is play things that are good to sacrifice to help make it so that your opponent has to do a lot of sacrificing, and also play a lot of removal so that they have to sacrifice the one creature that they have in play. So we have a bunch of creatures that are good to sacrifice or good to discard because we can bring them back. We have a bunch of removal. We have cards that interact with the graveyard. We have some interesting, powerful spells like the Ugin, the Finisher, and we have some powerful creature effects. All right, let's get into some of the cards. We have Archfiend's Vessel. It's a 1-mana, 1/1 with likely. When it enters the battlefield, if it entered from your graveyard, or you cast it from your graveyard, exile it. If you do, create a 5/5 black demon creature token with flying. It is a 1/1. So it comes back with a bunch of the cards in the deck. We have Cauldron Familiar, along with its best friend, Witch's Oven. The 1-mana 1/1, when it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. You can sacrifice a food token to return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. So once you get the Witch's Oven in play, and you can bringing it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Sanitarium Skeleton, good card to discard because you can bring it back to your hand, or good card to sacrifice because you can bring it back and play it. 1-mana 1/2, and you can pay 3 mana to return it from your graveyard to your hand. Serrated Scorpion, a little bit of life gain. It's a 1-mana 1/2. When it enters, when it dies, it deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life. Okay to discard, easy to bring back. Good early game play. Discordant Hyper is a 2-mana 2/1, and when it dies, create a 0/1 white goat creature token. So this is one of those good sacrifice fodders because it can do it twice. Durable Coil Bug is a 2-mana 2/2, and you can pay 5 mana to return it from your graveyard to your hand. So late game, if you're trying to pick them apart, you can discard this card, bring it back, discard, bring it back. It's a nice one. Skyclave Shade, a 2-mana 3/1. I'm becoming to see how powerful this card really is. I didn't really even think about it when I was starting my channel, and now that I've played a lot more and I'm experiencing all the cards more because I'm playing a lot of different decks to try and make these videos for us, this card is really shining. It's a 2-mana or a 2-mana 3/1 that can't block. It has kicker for a black and 2 colorless, and when it was kicked, it enters with 2 1/1 counters on it. You don't really need to do that. The kicker's landfall here. When it enters the battlefield under your control, if Skyclave Shade is in your graveyard and it's your turn, you may cast it from your graveyard this turn. So just a gift that keeps on giving, and it's easy to sacrifice. Parika's Spawn. We can use some of our graveyard if we're not returning things. It's a 4-mana 3/4 that has escape for 6 and exile 2 other cards from your graveyard. It escapes with 2 1/1 counters on it, so it's a 5/6. And when it enters the battlefield this way, each opponent sacrifices a non-Gorgon creature, so you're getting them to sacrifice another creature. Solemn Simulacrum, your standard ramp card in Brawl, and getting some more play in Standard. 4-mana 2/2. And when it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. When it dies, you draw a card, so you're refilling your hand while you sacrifice things. The removal, Bloodchief's Thirst, destroy target creature or planeswalker with converted mana cost 2 or less for 1 mana, or for 4 mana. If it was kicked, you can destroy target creature or planeswalker. Eliminate, destroy target creature or planeswalker with converted mana cost 3 or less. We want to try to get the little things out of the way so that Rankle can deal with the big things. Feed the Swarm, destroy target creature or enchantment. It's a sorcery for 1 and a black. Black doesn't get enchantment removal, unless it's colorless, and there isn't anything colorless in this set in standard right now. You lose life equal to that permanent's converted mana cost. Heartless Act, destroy target creature with no counters on it. It's a 2 mana instant. Or you can remove up to 3 counters from target creature. You can make those nasty crawling barons smaller. Elspeth's Nightmare is a 3 mana saga. Its first step is destroy target creature with an opponent controls with power 2 or less. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Exile that opponent's graveyard. So you're getting them to discard, getting them to sacrifice, and then getting rid of their graveyard so they can't use it anymore. Murderous Rider, cease play in pretty much every single black deck that I've ever built. Swift End for 2 black and a colorless. You get an instant adventure, destroy target creature or planeswalker. You lose 2 life. And its regular creature is a 3 mana 2/3 that has lifelink, and when it dies, put it on the bottom of its owner's library. Eat to Extinction, 4 mana, exile target creature or planeswalker. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. There's a new card in Kaldheim that exiles a creature or a planeswalker. It may see some play. I'm not sure. We'll have to see and see how it fits. Hagra Mauling is a land if you need a land and it's just tapped. Or this is a 4 mana instant, destroy target creature, and it costs 1 less to cast if an opponent controls no basic lands, which usually is not the case. Maybe outside of standard, that would be the case. Moving forwards with the new dual face lands and the new snow lands, maybe this will see 3 mana more often. We have Liliana, Walker of the Dead. It's a 4 mana, 4 loyalty planeswalker. +1, each player discards a card. You have all these good things to discard. And if an opponent can't, they lose 3 life. -3, target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. If you've killed some things, if you sacked some creatures, probably going to be 3 or 4, which is good. And then it's -7, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put target creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gains haste, so you can start figuring out those big things that you either destroyed or had them sacrifice or discard. We have some ways to interact with the graveyard. Omen of the Dead is a 1 mana flash enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. You can return one of your little things so you can sacrifice it again with Rankle. And then you can pay 3 mana to sacrifice Omen of the Dead, discard 2. Forever Young, put any number of target creature cards from your graveyard on top of your library and draw a card. So you could put 2 or 3 of your value creatures from your graveyard, or you just need one thing to sacrifice to get something out of the way. You could just use it for 1 creature. Null Priest of Oblivion, the 2 mana 2/1 menace and lifelink, and for an extra 4 mana, when it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. We have some bigger creatures and things that we might want to bring back with Null Priest of Oblivion, but even just bringing back a small thing to sacrifice with Rankle, powerful. Order of Midnight, it has Alter Fate as a sorcery adventure for 1 black and a colorless. Turn target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or it's a 2 mana 2/2 flyer that can't block and is great to sacrifice the Rankle. Call of the Death Dweller. We have a lot of creatures that are 1 and 2 converted mana cost, so getting to be able to bring back 2 things, hopefully, is really good. So for 3 mana, return up to 2 target creature cards with total converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a death touch counter on either of them, then put a menace counter on either of them. Drana, the Last Blood Chief, is a 5 mana 4/4 flyer, and when it attacks, defending player chooses a non-legendary creature in your graveyard. You return that card to the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. The creature is a vampire in addition to its other types. They get to bring back, they get to pick, but whatever you're bringing back, if Rankle's in play, you're probably going to be sacrificing. Then we have Agadeem's Awakening and Agadeem the Undercrypt. It's a black mana source that can come into play untapped if you pay 3 life. And you can return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creature cards with each have a different converted mana cost X or less. So ideally we can play this for 6 and get back 3 creatures. Your you're playing it with X is 2, you should be able to get 2 creatures. So it's or it's a land. Quite often it's a land. So we have some spells in the deck. Cling to Dust is a 1 mana instant. Exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, you gain 3 life. Otherwise, you draw a card. It has Escape, black and 3 colorless. Exile 5 other cards from your graveyard, and you get to do it again. Malakar Rebirth. It's a black land that enters play tapped as Malakar Mire. Or you can choose target creature for 1 black mana. You lose 2 life. Until the end of turn, that creature gains. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So you could return Sacrifice Fodder, or if they kill Rankle, you can return Rankle. It's a very versatile little spell. Witch's Oven plays really well, as we all know, with Cauldron Familiar. It's 1 mana artifact. You can tap it to sack a creature, create a food token. If the sacrifice creature's toughness is 4 or greater, create 2 food tokens. So you use it to, in the aggro matchups, we usually do pretty good with those. But being able to sacrifice things that are going to get destroyed and then eat the food to gain us some life. You can sacrifice this artifact to gain 3 life for 2 mana. It is very helpful. Agonizing Remorse is a 2 mana sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it or a card from their graveyard. Exile that card. You lose 1 life. Arcane Signet, 2 mana, taps to add any color in your commander's color identity, so that's black. Mazemind Tome is 2 mana, tap, put a page counter on Mazemind Tome, scry 1. Or pay 2, tap, put a page counter on Mazemind Tome, draw a card. When there are 4 counters on it, you gain 4 life and exile the tome. Palaka Predation and Palaka Caverns, it enters play tapped as a black source, or target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a card from it with converted mana cost 3 or greater. That player discards it for 3 mana. And then Ugin, or Ugin the Spirit Dragon. I just wanted to put this in here because it's a finisher. If you are just kind of going 1 for 1 and you can get this down, you win the game. 8 mana, 7 loyalty, plus 2. It deals 3 damage to any target. Minus X, exile each permanent with converted mana cost X or less. That's 1 or more colors. Minus 10, you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, and put up to 7 permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Very powerful. We have creatures. Timuret, Chosen from the Death, is a 2 mana, 2-star. Timuret's toughness is equal to your devotion to black. You can play a black and a colorless, exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. You gain life for each creature card exiled this way. So we're making them discard cards, and we can eat their graveyard so they can't bring things back if we're playing against the graveyard deck. Woe Strider, when it enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 white goat creature token. It's a 3 mana 3/2. Sacrifice another creature, scry 1. So it's 2 bodies for 3 mana, and for with Rankle that's important. It has Escape 5 and exile 4 other cards from your graveyard. Woe Strider escapes with 2 1/1 counters on it. So it becomes a 5/4. But the 2 bodies is what's relevant. Nightmare Shepherd is a 4 mana 4/4 flyer. It is an enchantment, so it's a little bit more vulnerable. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 and it's a nightmare in addition to its other types. So if you sacrifice one of the little things, you can bring it back right away and reuse it. And it's just a 4/4 flyer for 4. It does some work. Grey Merchant is a fun finisher. 5 mana 2/4. When Grey Merchant of Asphodel enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So with Massacre Worm, you're doing 5 damage. And Massacre Worm is a 6 mana 6/5. When it enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until the end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. Alright, we've got Castle Locthwain, got 17 swamps. Witch's Cottage. So when Witch's Cottage enters the battlefield tapped, unless you control 3 or more swamps. 17 swamps, we can do it. You put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. With Evolving Wilds, and we have Fabled Passages, so we can fuel our escape creatures and escape spells. Alright, that's Rankle, the master of ranks. I don't know if he's funny, but ranks are fun. I think he's fun. I know people who play against him don't think he's so fun. And thank you for one of my buddies from the Magic community. Steve for suggesting I play Rankle. All right, we're gonna do one game and then we will have a gameplay session with this to see more of how the deck works. All right, get into the game. We are up against Joshua. Oh my Joshua. I am Joshua. He's playing Nissa, or she is playing Nissa of Shadow Bows. We have a okay hand, lots of disruption. Nothing to do with Rankle just yet, but I'm sure we'll draw something. We're not going to play this as a land because we have 3 lands and a Signet. We're going to be able to utilize this Hagra Mauling as well. We'll be able to utilize with the Arcane Signet. Let's keep ramping and we'll see what they play. And Mauling something, you just get them for 3. I don't know if that's of any value. I think we just get them for 3. They have a removal spell. That's okay. Bye bye, Rankle. We also have our own. I could have waited for Malakir Rebirth, but Nissa. Just bloodthirst that. That's actually something we could have waited for. Could have destroyed the. We are going to blow up the Nissa. Maybe we should have played one of these as a land, so we could have played Rankle. That probably was a good idea. But next turn we can get out Timuret. Or we can make them discard a card. A good one for Hagra Mauling. Oh, they're missing a land. This is even a better thing for Hagra Mauling. Destroy that. And I think the Malakir Rebirth is going to be more useful. Drawing a land off the top would be nice. Holukranos. That is a Grey Merchant. We give it a turn. Untap with that. It's not no bueno. Do Rankle just to get rid of it. And I just bring it back. Could Shepherd into Timuret. Yeah, let's do that. And I'll let them decide what they want to do. Play it out as a land. We were going to use it, but I think land's more important at this point. Try and eat something. Obviously they don't have another land or they would have played it. Exile that. If I leave it on top, it's probably a land. I'm not gonna block. One black mana. Fable Passage. Get it in there. Now, the question is, I think we need to sacrifice. Yeah. I take that. Could have sacrificed Rankle. Actually, that might have been the right play, because then we could have exiled this. And we get a swamp. We got lots of graveyard shenanigans. Hey, Rankle on Rankle. Gonna make us this sacrifice? This is funny. We're gonna take action. We're gonna return Timuret. And I don't really want to fuel their graveyard. I'm not gonna do anything. I could play out Nissa. I need Timuret so we can start eating some of the things in there. These decks that are graveyard reliant are the most tricky ones to play with this Rankle deck. Yeah. We are kind of racing a little bit, but I do have Gray Merchant. 2, 4, 6, 3.
We will protect my home.
We're gonna eat all Lucranos, and we're gonna eat 1, 2, 3, 6. I can wait on Gray Merchant. Do it again. Oh, and they scoop it up. See? We disrupted their play enough to make them scoop. Alright, that's what Rankle wants to do. You want to see more gameplay? Come check out the gameplay session video. And in that deck game, I will discuss a little bit about what I think I can change to potentially make the deck better. Kaldheim is coming out. So the deck will be played again at some point with some Kaldheim stuff. Alright. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.